In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? In our media piece, we decided to use the mise-en-scène of a common slasher, so we kept the last girl in the film where she's vulnerable and can't protect herself. We also made the costumes that we used to fit in the mise-en-scene by having the character that was in danger wearing red, as this is a sign of danger and death, and the child wearing black clothing connoting death made it better for the film. This is because if the child was wearing a bright pink hoodie, the film wouldn't be as effective, where we wanted the film to be scary for the audience. If the characters in the film, we were going to use a male as the victim because it could have made the film more eerie. Though when we looked at a slasher film that we'd already looked at, such as Prom Night and Halloween, they always used the last girl technique, which was very effective, so we thought we would stick to the typical slasher film and have a girl. We looked at films such as The Omen and The Children and thought about whether we could use a child in our film, and from the research that we got from our target audience, they said they wanted an innocent killer, so we thought a child would be the ideal killer to have. Other conventions we used was the dark setting to scare the audience and build tension. This was more effective in a slasher than using high-key lighting. Also, by using a vulnerable-looking actor, the audience would feel more worried when the girl is coming to her death. We used a knife because we found this was a good weapon to have, as it's an everyday object, which could surprise the audience. From our film research, we found that a knife was a common weapon for a slasher. We didn't want to show the killer's face too much, as we felt that it wouldn't be as effective in the audience reaction. So instead we used mirrors to show the killer and their face for a small amount of time, so the audience could see the killer. The majority of people, when asked what they thought of the film, they said that showing the killer for a small amount of time was a very good idea. We researched titles from Psycho and Final Destination and found that in Psycho the title sequence was black and white. This could have connoted death in the film, so we decided that we would use the title to fit in with the film. So we used a red title sequence to connote danger and death in the film. Our group decided to change our film halfway through filming. This is because the setting that we had chose to do the filming was in a park, though it got dark very quickly. We also thought that our target audience wouldn't be fazed about the film, as it wasn't really a slasher type film. Characters that we had in the original film were both males. The victim and the child was a male. We also changed this because we thought that it wouldn't be as effective with a male victim compared to a girl. This is because women are always marginalised in films, and we wanted to stick to a conventional slasher. We then scrapped our initial idea and decided to go with the film that we've got now. I think that our film now has more potential than the one before. How does your media product represent particular social groups? The media product that I produce represents particular social groups. This is because it shows a vulnerable girl on her own at home. By using a character in this way, it makes the audience who are watching the film more sorry for the girl, as she's on her own and going to be antagonised. This shows us that girls are vulnerable on their own. The clip of the girl when she's got the back to the stairs shows the audience that she's in danger, although she doesn't realise that there is any danger coming to her. We also used teenagers as our actors because this was our target audience. The girl is being marginalised because she's a victim of an innocent child's murder. This fits in with the common conventions. Our female audience may not like this because they feel as if they're not empowered. What institution might distribute your media product and why? New Line Cinema would be a good distributor for our slasher film. This is because they have distributed and produced slasher films in the past, which means they will know all the needed techniques in order to attract the specific target audience. The film distribution is an important part of the overall film package. This is because it attracts the initial target audience. Who would be the audience for your media product? The audience that we think would suit our film would be teenagers around the age of 16 to 25. I think this will be the most targeted age for our film. This is because there are many youngsters that like to go to the movies and watch slashers, because they get the whole experience when they're in the cinema. We also targeted them with the character being roughly the same age so that we could relate to the victim. I also think that a slasher would interest the age group I have targeted a lot more than 40-year-olds, as they won't want to go and watch a film like a slasher. My film is aimed at both genders because men seem to appreciate slasher films. There is a female character in the film, so girls will be more inclined to go see the film because there is a child in the film. Boys and girls will be more entitled to go and see the film because the child's an innocent killer. How did you attract or address your audience? We attracted our audience by asking them what they would like in a new slasher if there was one to come out. We asked 10 girls and 10 boys so we could get an overall feel for what we wanted to have in a new slasher. Many of the audiences that we asked said they preferred modern slashers compared to the old slashers such as Psycho. When we asked the audience where the best location would be, they said the best location would be in a house. Many people that we asked weren't overly bothered about having blood in the movie. So we used a blackout and screamer when the victim was being killed and showed the knife that the victim had been stabbed with. We took all the audience views into aspect when we produced the film. We did this by making the film a modern slasher and by producing the film in a house with an innocent child. All of the things that the audience we asked wanted. Our film will suit both male and female audiences because we put both of their views into consideration. Have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product? The technology that we used on our media product was technology that I've never used before. For the music in our film, such as the monotone drone, we used GarageBand, which gave us a variety of musical instruments. We used this to help us make a good monotone drone that fitted our film scenario. Other technologies that we used were iMovie. We did this to create the overall film. We added text and sound from iMovie to make the film look better. We added Foley for when the stranger slams the door upstairs. We did this because we couldn't hear it very well and Foley wasn't being used. We also used the iMacs as another technology because they support the iMovie, so we couldn't really do any of the editing on any of the computers. The other technology we used were the cameras. The camera that we used was a camera where you could brighten up the contrast of the room that we were filming. Although we didn't end up using this, we just brightened up the scenes in iMovie. We used Facebook and YouTube to stream our film and get audience feedback. Some of the audience said they liked the child's laugh, although we could improve on the screams of the victim when she dies. Instead of 3 long screams to 2 short screams, we took this into account and changed the film. We used iMovie to brighten all of our shots in our film. This was better because we could then clearly see what the character was doing in the film. We also used a microphone to record the opening part of the film when the title sequence was being read aloud. We thought that this was more terrifying to the audience instead of just seeing the title. Looking back at your prelim task, what do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the full product? From my prelim task, I learnt that the match-on action shows great effect and knowledge of common film conventions. This is because it is a quick way to show a certain action which doesn't confuse the audience. The 180-degree rule and the shot reaction shot are both very important because it doesn't confuse the audience and also makes the film make more sense. The 180-degree rule was an important part of our film. We had to make sure that the camera didn't cross over the imaginary axis that connected the 2 subjects with a clear line. This gives a clear connection with the unseen movement that happens, which will give the audience a clear meaning on what the character is meant to be looking at.